Welcome to Tough Talk with Teachers.
Real teachers that are in the trenches every day sharing authentic struggles, successes, and you can't make this up type of stories.
Edu-earners that talk the talk and walk the walk.
Welcome back to another episode of Tough Talk with Teachers. Today I am here and we are going to be discussing the sub shortage. It is flu season. It is difficult when we are getting sick as teachers. A lot of us just don't want to call in sick in general and miss school, but to find those subs, a lot of us are struggling, and a lot of districts are trying to come up with new inventive ways to find qualified individuals. Before we get started, I would like our special guest to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sally Handcock, and I teach biology here at Poplar Bluff High School.
And just because our districts are, quite a ways away from each other and different things, so we kind of have some different experiences, and we're just going to have a quick conversation about substitute teachers. So I know I just mentioned before, preparing for a sub is difficult. What do you find difficult about missing a day of school?
Trying to get a lesson that anyone can walk into and be able to deliver to kids, especially in the sciences, is really difficult. So coming up with new inventive ways to get information or assignments to them, and just so that they have something to do for that full hour, is very time consuming to come up with.
For sure, and especially I like to do a lot of techie things, or even if it's just a basic thing like in Google Classroom, there's always that chance that tech could go out, the internet could go down, or maybe a kid doesn't know how to do whatever, and it's just I gotta leave something and make sure that all of my bases are covered if I leave a lesson like that, or have a backup plan, because you just never know what's going to happen if the power's going to go out or whatever. And I know we're all having this shortage. What do you think is probably the most difficult about this sub shortage?
I think a lot of people are scared to come into a school and deal with children that they do not know. And our district is really large, so they're walking into a large group of teenagers here at the high school anyway. And with anything that could happen from, safety issues or fights or anything like that, they just...
Or just ornery teenagers.
Yeah. And they don't want to put themselves out there and risk, I'm sure, thinking that they're going to do something wrong and risk some kind of lawsuit or whatever. It's pretty daunting. So there's that. And then, to be honest, if you're a highly qualified person, you've probably got a job somewhere, and subbing for a high school is not going to be on your top list of things to do today.
And I think subbing, no matter what grade level you're subbing at, there's different challenges. Elementary, the kids might be more compliant as a sub. At least back in my sub days, they were more compliant, and they were a little bit more scared of you if they weren't doing what they were supposed to, and you threatened them a little bit. Hey, get back in your seat. They were, they typically would, but then elementary, they got to be constantly engaged in something, or your whole class erupts very quickly with the littles, or you got to watch them, or the kindergartners, you got to watch and make sure that they're not using the scissors inappropriately or whatever. You're on your toes the whole time. But then in high school, you have the back talking and the eye rolling. Are they on their cell phones? And there's different struggles in all the levels. They're just different. And I know sometimes I've heard other educators, it's difficult because you're just not there. You want to be there for your kids.
Oh, and then there's the struggle with you leave these plans that are very detailed, and you get back and the kids are like, we didn't do any of that. They just told us to do X, Y, Z instead.
Or we only did the first 5 problems. She didn't say to do all 20 problems. I'm like, What? That only took you 5 minutes of class. What did you think you were supposed to do? Well, there are 45.
Right.
And I think that can be definitely difficult. Or I know a lot of times, because of the sub shortage, us as teachers, we're covering our fellow coworkers' classrooms during our own plan time. And I know we're compensated for it, but it's still a struggle on both ends, because those teachers are having different people in their classrooms. Maybe every single hour there's a different teacher, and so that's a struggle for them, and then it's a struggle for us as educators, because we had planned on using that time to, do things for our own classroom and our own students and different things like that.
And if they're going to have to go to different classrooms, they may not have all the things that they need that would be in the original room too.
For sure. So let's talk about some of the different things that either can make this easier or different things that districts are using to help recruit subs. I know you had mentioned using, like, now that schools are one-to-one, that, and we have devices and internet at home, that makes things a lot easier for us if we happen to get sick and have to miss unexpectedly.
Yeah, it saves on those midnight trips up to school, for sure.
Yeah, or copying the papers, because you can just email whatever you need printed off to somebody and they can print it off for you. I know our school is awesome about sharing those resources and, helping other teachers out when they're not there. And we talked about earlier just trying to recruit, districts recruiting different people to sub and the different ways that they're doing that. I know you had mentioned a couple of things.
I know that a lot of the colleges nearby, we've got TRC here. I know some of my former students who have become subs because it was an easy way on their days off from class that they could make a little extra money. I know that they look to those kids.
Yeah, we have that up at our district with SEMO, and or somebody who's working part-time or has a student or a child that they watch part-time or something like that. It can be a very flexible position for people who want that flexibility, which is great. I know a lot of districts are starting to offer more incentives to get people, because everyone is struggling. It's not just a Missouri issue. I've seen articles across the country. They're offering different incentives, whether it be money or they get certain things back. And then we talked about getting retired teachers are also usually awesome subs. Like, they're great because they've been in education for a long time.
Yeah, especially if they worked in that district and that's where they retired from. They know a lot of the procedures and know how the school operates, so that they are very well versed in what to do if there is an emergency or if the kids should have cell phones out or not.
Yeah, and so those are a great resource, but unfortunately, but for good reason, there's pros and cons to, they have a limited amount of hours that they're able to work every year, so they cannot sub every single day or even so many days, I guess a month or something like that. And so we have to use those sparingly, so all of those retired teachers can't cover necessarily the needs. And it's not even us being sick. It's us being at professional development or going to conferences or field trips with our students and, taking kids to state for athletics or thespians or whatever that they're doing. There's so many reasons that we're out of the classroom. But, and hopefully, I don't know if the 60 hours, credit hours that subs have to have is, limiting that. I think we could, you said have some amazing subs that maybe don't have that qualification. There's some amazing people in this world that have never gone to college a day in their life, but why should they, necessarily be limited by that? But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there.
I don't either.
But I don't know. Hopefully, these districts, are working to get qualified individuals that will be really awesome with our kids. And, hopefully with technology and different things, we can work on, getting those lesson plans in and different things for when we're unexpectedly out and, make things a little bit better. So thank you for joining us today, and we will catch you next time.
Here at Tough Talk with Teachers,
we know teaching is tough, but so are you.